CAP first. Who we are. Curaçao Airport Partners is a consortium of international investors. CCR, a company from Brazil, owns about 80% of the shares. Aport, a company that includes Zurich Airport, where we get a lot of technical expertise to assist us, controls about 10% of the shares. And Janssen de Jong, a Dutch company, prominent in Curaçao for many years, controls 10% of the shares of the consortium. Curaçao Airport Holding, you've heard us talk about the holding, CAH. They are the government entity that essentially controls they own the airport, they own the infrastructure, they're the landlord, so to speak. CAP, us, we are the private airport operator. We run the airport, we have a concession for 30 years to manage and operate the Curaçao International Airport, to do so as efficiently as we possibly can and safely as we possibly can. The concession period was awarded for 30 years. We have about 20 years remaining on the current concession. What we stand for, what CAP stands for. Essentially, there are several things that are critical to CAP being a success and Curaçao being a success. CAP is not successful unless Curaçao is successful and vice versa. That's just the way it works with this type of an asset. Essentially, respecting the vision of the government to manage and operate the airport for optimal efficiency. That's primary. That's critical for us. Encouraging development and growth of the airport goes without saying. Fair and equal treatment of all users. Again, critical to the process of success. Respecting the investment of the shareholders and their need to secure a reasonable return on their investment. Again, fundamental to the deal. This is a business. This is an investment. This is a tremendous asset that was given to, that was sold, so to speak, given to a private consortium to manage as a private entity. And essentially, that is something that we do, and we take our investors' investment in the airport, which is quite substantial, very seriously. And then, of course, requiring the users and CAP to comply with the rules and regulations that govern the airport. We're all in this thing together, and there are rules and regulations that govern the operation of a civil airport properly. Ran airports, various parts of the world, and it's universal. There are certain things that have to happen at an airport and have to be done in a certain way so that the security, the efficiency, the functionality of the airport can work, so the airport can function as designed to function. Some critical success factors for us. Operational excellence goes without saying. This is an airport. Lots of things happen here. There's huge machineries running out there. People's lives are on the line every day. In everything that we do, we are responsible for that. Operational excellence is critical to success and is fundamental to safety. There's no way around that. If we don't do that job properly and invest what it takes to make it happen, nobody succeeds and people can get hurt. So we take that part of our job incredibly seriously and do everything that we can, rules and regulations included, to make sure that the best interest of the client, the best interest of the consumer, and the best interest of the company is all assured in some way. Financial strength and accountability. Again, critical words in the presentation, investment, various things like that. Accountability and financial strength is critical to success. If the company does not succeed, investments cannot be made. So there are parts of the process that simply have to be adhered to. Things have to happen. We have to be able to successfully operate and financially succeed if the company is going to do what it says we're going to do for the government and, of course, for our investors. So these things this is an absolutely fundamental part of the process. We are diligent in the way we manage the airport, in everything that we do, because that serves the best purpose of Curaçao, it serves the best purpose of our investors, and it serves the best purpose of our customers. Every passenger that comes through here is a reflection of the financial integrity of the company, of the airport, and of the company. And every penny we get, and if you look at it throughout the entire economy, who pays the bills? The customer pays the bills. At the end of the day, these are the people. All of our revenues basically come from people that use the airport. So we really have to be. They're the source of all of our revenues. So we have to make sure that the platform we offer them is very good, very functional, and very safe. Oops, go step back here. Continuous improvement for the customer experience at the airport, and we do that to encourage future growth, to encourage use, to encourage new visitors, to encourage new businesses to operate at the airport. But again, it is critical to have that continuous improvement. And again, continuous improvement is also a function of having the ability to make those improvements. They all work together very well, like four legs of a stool. It doesn't work very well if one leg is starting to go somewhere else. So we really focus on these in a very systematic and critical way. Encouraging existing users to increase services and then also fostering the possibility for new operators to look at Curaçao and try to add some diversity, add some additional opportunities for the users of Curaçao. And again, critical, our existing users are here. They have made the past successful. They are going to be an integral part of the future going forward. We have to find a way to make sure that we do always cater in some way, provide an opportunity where they can expand their services. But at the same time, reality is that growth is critical, and we also have to look out into the world and see what other opportunities that might exist out there that we can attract here to Curaçao to, again, increase that economic base, not just for us, but certainly for the entire island. Passengers are critical to our business model. Passengers are critical to the Curaçao business model. That's how things work. I'll give you a little overview quickly of the financial and investment that CAP has made over the past 13 years, from August 2003 to December 2013. We have made direct investments in the airport of $82 million US. Payments from CAP to the holding, CAH, government essentially, of $47 million. Future investments planned between 2014 and 2018 amount to about $46 million. These are in process. These are in the planning stages right now, but they are happening. Over the same period of time, if you think about this, the accumulated net profit for the company has been only $13 million, roughly with eight years with very small profit, 2 years with a loss. Overall, the average yearly profit is just about 1.3 million. Now think of yourself in an investment portfolio where you've invested $82 million, and in the past 13 years, this is what you've gotten back. Curaçao represents a really great opportunity, we think, for the company. But at the same time, the foundation that has to be laid to make sure that that opportunity comes to pass for us is a long-term vision. It's not something that we see today or tomorrow as easily represented in these audited numbers. So we are making quite an investment here. Everything that we do is very well calculated to make sure that the foundation we set today, the platform for operations and finance, revenue-producing platform that we develop here, the airport system, is something that actually can help us generate the return that our investors are looking for, but do that over a longer term. As you see, there may be a gold mine, but we still got a lot of shovels out there that we're using to dig to try to find that gold. And it's going to take a little while for us to do it. But again, the opportunity is there, and we're working towards that end. We have about 205 persons on our payroll, of which I believe two are expatriates. The rest are essentially all from Curaçao. Total airport personnel on the compound, so to speak, are about 1,500. So we have quite an economic impact when you think about it here. That's a lot of jobs that the airport actually helps to create and support. What's the CAP business model? We hear a lot of stories about what CAP is, how we do, why we do things, what it's all about. Well, here's a little idea of what is really implicit and what is core to our business model. Essentially, we're characterized, as you've seen from the last chart, by very high private investments. We spend a lot of money. We invest a lot of money in Curaçao and in the airport. That's part of an airport operation. Incredibly high, very, very highly capital intensive. That doesn't go away. Any airport, anywhere. We're no different here. In fact, the infrastructure that we have here does need a lot of attention, and it does require a lot of additional, a lot of capital. Fixed assets. So these airports, like many other businesses, when things go wrong, you can pick up your assets and move somewhere else. Unfortunately for an airport, what you see is what you get, and what you have, what you will keep forever. There's no way around that. So all the money that we're investing here basically goes to the long-term benefit of Curaçao. It does. These cannot be moved. You don't move your runway because there's a better opportunity somewhere else. It doesn't happen. This is your asset. This is what we have to live with. This is what we have to optimize, as the years go by. So we don't have many opportunities that are normally characteristic of other businesses. They're quite unique in that regard. We have a very high level of financial and operational regulations that go along with this, both from the international arena and the local arena. Of course, we have a very comprehensive DOMA that we are required to live by here and meet the requirements of the government to manage and operate the airport. That is a given. That we have to do. We live by that every day. On the other side, we have international regulators that determine what is required to make sure that the airport is run to international standards that that are compliant with other airports throughout the world. We operate on a similar level. And here we look at things like, airport runway lighting systems. We look at instrument landing systems, all these things that are needed to make sure that the airlines can operate safely. And we have to do that, and we pay for this. Many other airports, that's paid for by the government or a federal entity that does it. In this situation, CAP literally pays for everything that has to do with the airport. And in fact, next year, or in a couple of years down the road, we'll be looking at replacing the instrument landing system. That is a budgeted item for CAP. Runway lighting systems that come into play, those have to be replaced by CAP, paid for by CAP. So these are very, like I said, it's quite an obligation that we have here in our hands, and to do it right and to do it the way the government expects, which is where we want to be, is something that is going to cost us quite a bit of money over the years. Has already cost us and will cost us more. Again, continuing a little more on the business model, our aeronautical revenues, we hear a lot about the PFCs and we hear a lot about rates and charges here. Like anywhere else, airports run on rates and charges, and they're approved by somebody. Here we have an independent regulator, the BTP, that in consultation with the users, we actually, they ultimately determine and approve the rates and charges that we can charge. This is not something that we have the liberty to do as we see fit. It doesn't work that way. Again, this is not a normal business like you might see somewhere else. The regulation is incredibly heavy. Our return on investment is determined, and it's actually stipulated, and it has to be justifiable based on operational requirements and investments made by CAP. So somebody else determines how much money I'm going to make on my investments. It's really quite a job. We have to make sure that whatever we do is completely justified, documented, and that we do it in such a way that we still remain competitive with other airports within the region and still get back a return on investment for our investors. That's a tough task. There's a lot to do to make this airport run properly, and the challenges are by no means small. Just to give you a little idea also, the last rate increase that we got, that was at the end of 2012, half of the rate increase, virtually half of the rate increase, did not go to CAP. It actually went to other government entities to support services, but had nothing to do with CAP, had nothing to do, we saw nothing of that, of 45% of that increase. So there's a lot that goes into that. Airport tariffs, again, stipulated by the government. Not something that we are free to charge on a daily basis or to change on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis. We apply, we request, we justify, and hopefully at some point we get some relief on the rates based on our investments and what we need to really run the airport in a safe and efficient manner. Going a little bit further. We're required to pay an annual concession fee that ranges between 15 and 18% of total revenues to the government. And we do that. Currently it's at 18% because it's based on the number of passengers that we carry. The higher the passenger load, the higher the investment goes, the higher the percentage goes. And we pay that. Not only that, we pay that monthly and we pay that in advance. It's again, these are some significant financial burdens that we are required to carry. Even before we get paid from some of our other people, we're paying in advance to the government what is owed that month. What we do, we extend, normally as a matter of normal business programs, as you would do in your own businesses, we extend payment terms to various users of anywhere between 30 and 45 days. Some, in the past, very significant airline payment delays of up to 9 to 12 months amounted to millions of outstanding A&G for guilders for CAP. Now, try to put that in perspective. Millions of dollars that are just sitting there you cannot collect for months and months and months at a time. The strain on the finances of CAP, which is a working business with a budget that is managed by a very difficult, very tough board of directors, financially astute board of directors. It requires us to be very prudent. When this happens, and things like this happen on a regular basis, the strain on us is incredibly tough. And we have to find ways internally to do that, whether it be through our own workings, our own efficiencies, or whether it's a requirement of our investors. That's something that's internal. That's something that we would have to do. So it's when you hear stories of, CAP is being tough, CAP is tough on, local budget, believe you me, we're struggling on our side also to try to make sure that our businesses maintain the level of integrity that our shareholders expect. So, and that the government expects, because again, we pay them regularly every month in advance for what we project as the total concession fee will be for that year. The need for CAP sometimes in situations where there's very long delays in receiving our finances, of our monies from some users, puts us in a situation where we have to now incur additional expenses through third parties to go and help us recover that money. Again, further expenses for CAP, but we also have to manage the extent of our liability because, again, being responsible people to a board of directors, we need to manage risk. So there are times when we do have to take measures that normally we would not like to do, we don't want to do, but we have to put ourselves in a situation where we are protected. Somebody essentially the success of somebody else cannot come at my loss. So we really have to manage these types of expectations very very carefully. And believe you me, we do nothing here without careful, deliberate calculation, the impact on what happens both to the company and to the community. That's critical to the deal. As I said way before, one doesn't succeed without the other. So there's no interest in our part of trying to do something that hurts somebody or that has a negative impact on somebody, unless it's an absolute last resort. And we are in fact protecting ourselves and protecting our responsibilities to the government to make that happen. Business model. Again, our labor costs are significant here. There's no question about it. And that is due in large part to the specialization required of being an airport and the various types of positions that we must have and we must employ to make sure that the jobs are being done properly. Critical functions of customs and immigration. These things impact customer service, extensively. They send a message about what Curaçao is to the passengers that use it. These are not under our control. We work very closely with the agencies to make sure that we do whatever we can to make sure that experience on arrival and departure is a good one. But at the end of the day, there's little that we can do to control that. So it's very important that, again, that relationship, that is understood, and that these relationships are something that the community knows that we work with on a daily basis. And you will see a little bit later some of the things that we've done within these areas to actually help that process, and they have been very successful. Another part of the equation here, in Curaçao, air traffic control, aircraft fire and rescue and firefighting, and security are paid for by CAP. All paid for by CAP. Not like other destinations like St. Martin and Aruba, where these services are provided and paid for separately by the government. So that's a major difference in our business models. So when we compare Aruba, you compare St. Martin to Curaçao, you got to look at what the real differences are, apples to apples, so to speak. Aruba and St. Martin do not pay concession fees to the government either. The money that they collect stays within the airport structure. And that's another big thing. We start off with immediately at least 15% of our revenues being paid. Again, part of the deal, which we accept, which we do, which we work with every day. No big deal. But this is the difference between us and other people. And that's the reason why some of the things that we do and some of the things that happens here, not quite the same, cookie cutter as any other airport. It's just different. But the model that we have here, I will tell you, the privatized model does have some very significant benefits for islands like Curaçao. We really can make the airport work very efficiently to the benefit of the government with this mentality of a business owner that really makes a big difference in how the airport is managed. And I've seen airports where it goes different ways, and the efficiencies are not quite there. We get everything we can out of this infrastructure, and we will continue to do that because it's our commitment to the passenger, to the government, to our own shareholders. Since 2006, just to put things in perspective, one rate increase authorized by the government in all that time. That came at the end of 2012. So that was the situation under which CAP was operating since effectively from 2003. There was only one rate increase, but then beyond that, just one increase since 2006 to the airport. Major impact. Air service incentives. We've heard a lot about that too from time to time. What are they? Essentially, at the airport, there are different types of incentives. The airport, we concentrate on what we can do. Our airport incentives basically range from a waiver of landing and parking fees. When new airlines come in here and they want to do certain things, we try to help them economically for some period of time, depending on the route, depending on whether it's a new route, an existing route, a restart of a route after a certain period of time, if they're increasing flights, if they're changing aircraft type, if they're going from, let's say, a 737 to a 757, where there are more seats, we take that all into consideration when we look at the incentive that we can offer.